Hello everyone. Today again with me I'm going to have the Alois family. I'm going to have Massimo and the Michales. So we're going to have a little bit of the past, the present and the future of Alois. The reason I'm doing this back again because that was a glitch and to keep the conversation from last week. And I just think it's a great conversation to talk about and talk about a great region, a region that sourced me a lot of education in terms of my wine journey. So many things to be talked about, the region itself of Campania. We're talking about a family that can be traced to the 1500s. They brought the indigenous beautiful grapes. They rescued basically from extinction Casavecchia and Pallagrello Bianco, which we're going to talk about later. And Massimo will be joining us with Alois, with the Alois family. And I hope you guys have a good time. I know everyone's trying to enjoy their Sunday, but this is going to be fun. It's a super fun family to talk about that I had to bring them back again because it's very important not only to talk about Aglianica that I love, Piano Greco di Tufo, talk about all these varietals. And here we have the present, the past, and the future. What a picture is this? I really appreciate you guys being back again. Thank you, Michele, for coming back. Thank you, Michele, for coming back. Thank you, Massimo, for coming back. But there was a problem next week about keeping the recording. And here we are. Ciao. Ciao, bello.
Ciao, Bruno. Nice to see you again.
Nice to see you. How are you today?
I can promise you, Bruno, it was not easy to gather all these two guys, today. Because they're so busy. My father was supposed to go to the disco, and my nephew, has got so many, young girls who are trying to flirt these guys,
Thank you so much for coming. Listen, I really apologize about the problem we had last week, but this happens once in a while with Instagram technologies, and that's what happens. But again, I was just introducing back again. I think Campania is such a beautiful region. It's one of the regions, for me as Portuguese, I learned a lot about Italian wines by learning. I learned about my Portuguese wines first by learning the Italian wines first. So in Campania, for me, it's one of those regions when a lot of people make that weird question, what's your favorite region? What's your favorite wine? That's why I'm back here with you, because I love Campania. I have a lot of love for Campania. So I had to bring you back and to talk about the long history that Campania has to offer. So since Thursday, how has been harvest?
So the harvest, let me tell you, just yesterday we had a big problem with a boar who got actually caught within the fan. So I regret to say that was kind of dangerous. So we had to kill him because it was very big and he was trying to attack us because he realized he could not escape because of the electricity wire system we have. So if you want, I can send you a bunch of videos, but they are a little cruel. I don't think you wanna see that. But yeah, the harvest and the grapes this year are pretty good. They've suffered a little bit the drought, but a little less quantity, and even the yield. It's not. The yield in after the press is not that. Is not what we were looking for, but all the other datas are really good. So very good pH finally, like I told you, 2 days ago. But the very first time in our history, we are below 3.2. That for us, I can promise you, it's a very good achievement. And the acidity as well, for the Pallagrello Bianco, it's over 6 grams per liter. So we're pretty happy about that.
Salute to that. Cheers, it's great. Let me tell you, it's great to hear great news. Unfortunately, we in the US, we're not facing the best times because of the fires that happened before in California. But right now it's hitting the Willamette Valley in Oregon. So we are all praying and giving our best to whatever it's going to happen with this harvest, mainly in Oregon. Some of the crops might be endangered because of smoke. So we all raise a glass to all of you and to all winemakers in the world for all the efforts and the great things they do to the community. So,
and especially let me just raise my elbow for the Willamette Valley vintners, because we've got a bunch of things in common. It's a volcanic soil as well. We are
exactly.
in a volcanic soil, so
Yeah.
we feel pretty close to them. So,
Cheers.
Cheers to them.
Cheers. So I'm able to keep always to keep the bottles. I'm still having the Kayati. I have a Coravan, so the Coravan I can drink the wines whenever I want. So that's pretty good.
What's the vintage you are working on?
This is 2018.
Okay.
18. So if you can tell us a little bit about the history of the Alois family, like all this briefly, you can tell us about like the history and the relationship with the Bourbon family, like all that, what impact created in Campania, if you can tell us briefly.
Okay, so you can tell because of the name, Alois is a French family, and it used to be Alois, while in Italy it has been Italianized into Alois. So it's a French family, came down south in the 16th century, and they have always lived up on a hill called Casavecchia, which means old Caserta. Then the family came down to the present Caserta, which was bought by the kings of Naples, who were the kings of Spain coming from France. So they were the Bourbons, because they, you know, I mean, just long story short, the guys in Spain, they ran out of heirs. So that's why all the big families gathered together and they decided to have a Bourbon, you know, as king in Spain. And since the Spanish were in charge of southern Italy, we got a Bourbon in southern Italy. Anyway, Charles III bought the present Caserta, okay? And the family, the Alois family, and a bunch of other noble families, they started, you know, working for them and with them. And the Alois family has always been involved in the textile, because at the time, the Spanish kings of Naples, they were, of course, competing with all the other families, even though they were related to. So they couldn't stand the fact that these guys were coming down south with their own barrels and with their own wine, and the garments of the ladies of the court was more precious than those they were having they're having, you know, here in the south. So they built a manufacturing plant for making fabrics, and actually they were special fabrics. They were jacquard fabrics. For those who don't know what a jacquard fabric is, the jacquard fabric is a fabric whose design is the result of the intersection between the horizontal and the vertical threads. So it's not a print, but it's the design is just the result of that of the weaving. It's a weaving fabric. Anyway, they set up this factory in close to the Royal Palace of Caserta. That I invite you guys, for those who have never been to Caserta, it's pretty interesting, and it's a beautiful palace, one of the best and biggest palaces in the world. It's as big as Versailles, and it has been it was built at the same time. Anyway, they close to this big palace, they built the church, the manufacturing plant, schools for the workers, and a bunch of other things. They closed the city with walls, and they built the houses for the workers. So that was one of the first experiments of welfare, you know, in the 1789. So during the French Revolution, actually. And my family has always been, you know, there, you know, hanging around, actually working hard, you know, with their swagger, you know. Anyway, so all the way around, working hard, pretty hard, to make sure that, you know, they could we could do a good job and producing good fabrics for the court. And besides that, and actually, if I can show you, Bruno, this is something we didn't do yesterday. I just want to make sure that my hands are clean. I've got with me the original document. This is the code of the legislation for this closed city that the Bourbon Kings have set up. Look.
Oh, wow.
So this is the second edition of 1789.
Wow.
Let me just show you guys. Can you read it?
Yeah, it's backwards, but I can read it. I can see it. Oh, that's awesome. That's dated. That's traced to the 1700s?
1789.
Okay.
Okay. So let me show you something. Just one word. Look, this is the introduction to the code. And this is the code for the population of San Leucio. So they had the vineyards over there. Let me read where it is. I don't know if you guys can read it, but I want to show you that it was here where my finger is. Can you see vigna, the word vigna?
Not really. Okay, I can see it now. Yeah, I can see it.
Okay, anyway, so where my finger is, above my finger, I show you again. I know we are wasting a little time.
Yeah, the vineyard.
Okay, so he was referring to an existing vineyard that the Principi di Caserta had been built. And since then, they started reviving all the ancient vines of the Romans, because Charles III was the very first king who discovered Pompeii. So they were digging Pompeii at the time. And so this is the reason why we are switching at the time from the Baroque period into the neoclassic period. And the word neoclassics means new classics, towards the classic, towards the Roman, world. Just because they were obsessed about, the Roman Empire. And so that being said, the vineyards, the grapes were part of this project. So this is the reason why they started to plant up to 11 vineyards that they owned, because in the past they used to buy grapes from their subjects. But then they realized that the wines were not as good as they expected, and they realized that they had to have their own vineyards, and they in the neighborhood they set up 11 vineyards. They were all grapes, vines from southern Italy, because they were the kings of two Sicilies. So we had grapes from Sicily, Calabria, Puglia, and of course Campania.
It's all the kingdom.
Yeah. So let me just tell you, Campania is for us is an important region, and even for Italy, because it's the doorway to southern Italy. And Caserta, which is northern Campania, actually is it's a kind of intersection. If you want to go down south, you gotta get through Caserta anyway. So this is why I think the kings thought, and that was the initial project, to move the capital from Naples to Caserta, which is inland, because Naples was too dangerous, because it was on the coast, and the English, tried to always attack, and even the Saraceni, the Arabs.
Of course, the English, right?
And maybe even the Portuguese. I don't know that. I don't think so. Anyway, so actually, in the big crest of the Bourbon family, there is even the Portuguese crest, because in the 16th century, the Spanish and Portuguese, so in the Bourbon Kings there is also the Portuguese one. Anyway, so this is the reason why Campania is so important for the south, not just because it was the capital, but because it's just on the border with the rest of Italy, and this is why Caserta for us, I would say it's important, because it's northern Campania, and it has always been on the border, you know, with the rest of Italy.
Okay. No, for me, like again, for me, as Portuguese, I always seen like Italy like in a very special place because like we're just talking about history and everything, and it's true. Like when you think about mainly the south of Italy, everyone passed by Phoenicians, Greeks, you know, like everyone passed by Cleopatra, like everyone passed by that region to go west, to go east. The Spaniards like did like when we think about Garnacha. I was just talking about Garnacha the other day and Cano now. Why there's Cano now, why you can see like all these grapes, you can see Vermentino, and why? Because of the Spaniards. They actually were the ones bringing all these grapes to that part. So there's so much history to talk about that. And when we're talking about history, like since you have your father right next to you, so I'd like to ask him what he feels about like all these things that he just said about like a Casavecchia and talking about Pallagrello Bianco, like these mainly these grapes that you, along with the bourbons, were so important to rescue from extinction and bring up to life. What he have he seen during all these decades? What he feels about like that history?
Okay, I regret to say that my father is not fluent in English, so let me translate and then I'll translate again. Quindi dice, dici qualcosa sulla storia di questi vitigni, che cosa hanno rappresentato per te, quando hai cominciato, che cosa hai fatto, che cosa...
Innanzitutto vorrei raccontare un po' la mia vita lavorativa. Per 45 anni ho lavorato nelle aziende tessili di famiglia.
Okay, let me tell you first of all that I've been working for the family business for more than 45 years.
Dove producevamo dei damaschi, dei lampazzi, dei tessuti dei tessuti classici.
Where we used to produce a bunch of different fabrics, you know, lampas, damasks, brocade.
E questo è un esemplare.
Is an example.
Oh wow!
Can you see the basket with the flowers?
Questo tessuto, questo esemplare di tessuto si trova alla Casa Bianca.
And this is a fabric that you can find at the White House.
Dove abbiamo regalato negli anni 80 al Reagan.
So when Clinton.
Reagan.
Reagan in the 80s?
So he said that we gave these as a present to Reagan, you know, to the president. Okay.
E noi esportavamo negli Stati Uniti molti damaschi, molte stoffe classiche, ma molta roba.
And we used to export, you know, we used to make a lot of business with the Americans.
And with the Louvre too, no?
Sorry?
And the Louvre?
And the Louvre as well, yeah, anche il Louvre.
Sì, anche Louvre, non solo, ma anche il Quirinale, il Palazzo di Stato italiano,
the Quirinale
anche al Vaticano.
The Quirinale is the residence of the Italian president, you know, and he used to be the residence of the church, you know, of the Pope.
Anche alcune università importanti di New York. E il nostro importatore di allora, Schroemer Roman, dove lui indicava queste stoffe che mandava lì come pareti murarie, e sotto ci deve essere Alois.
Questo dove?
Questa è una grande università di New York.
So the university in New York City has got one of our fabrics hanging on the walls. You know, actually, it's they upholstered the wall with our fabrics, and there's a sign, you know, below which says, you know, Alois, the Alois family has given this fabric, you know, to the University of New York City.
E avevo 23 anni quando sono entrato nelle industrie tessili di famiglia.
I was 23 when I started working, you know, for my father.
Già da allora ho incominciato a fare qualche cosa per la natura. A me piace la campagna, mi piace l'agricoltura.
But I've always been involved, you know, with agriculture and nature because I'm in love with nature and I love to be in the fields.
E il vino l'ho sempre fatto alla buona, anche sotto casa mia.
And I've always been making wine, but in a pretty rustic way, you know, in my garage.
allora compravo l'uva e la vinificavo alla buona.
I used to buy the grapes and I used to vinify that, you know, according to my own ideas.
Però a marzo-aprile le cose cambiavano perché incominciavo un po' a dare dei vastidi, cioè degli errori nella vinificazione, perché non sapevo come fare.
But after a few months, you know, after the vinification in the month of March and April, I realized that my wine was not in a good shape and it started to, you know, to be a little off.
Allora 30 anni fa ho incominciato questo piccolo, ho iniziato questo campo sperimentale, va bene, per vedere un po' questo grande ceppo che davo di questa casa vecchia, abbandonata, diroccata cosa, che stava lì, una grandissima ceppo, dove lì è nato qualche cosa che poi man mano con l'Università di Napoli si è riuscito a fare un po'.
That's why 30 years ago I started this new adventure, planting all the indigenous varietals and asking, you know, a bunch of friends and even the University of Naples and Florence to helping me trying to understand what was going on here in the southern Italy.
So in the meantime, we're talking about Casavecchia. Casavecchia means the old house. That's why you call it Casavecchia.
Yeah, you're right. I'm sorry. Yeah, I can tell you understand Italian. I forgot to translate. Exactly. So, and near to an old house, they found the cuttings, which were part of these big vines, actually trees, that they survived the phylloxera, and they were, you know, older than 200 years, you know, and from those big vines, they took the cuttings to repropagate them in new rootstocks.
La prima vinificazione, logicamente, avevo bisogno di qualche enologo che mi avrebbe dato una mano per la composizione di questo vitigno e anche del Pallagrello bianco e del Pallagrello nero.
At the very beginning, I realized that I needed the help of some experts in order to make a good wine out of Casavecchia and Pallagrello.
E così conosciuto anche l'enologo che mi ha dato una mano per poter vinificare, per poter portare su un vino abbastanza soddisfacente, e così ci siamo riusciti.
And I had the opportunity to meet a pretty important enologist that he started accompanying me in this new path.
E così ho iniziato un po'. Allora la cosa che andava bene, allora ho pensato di allargare un po' la larga, di fare un vigneto più grande, e così, avendo del terreno a disposizione di alcuni ettari, diversi ettari, allora ho fatto l'impianto immediatamente, e così sia del Casavecchia soprattutto, e i due Pallagrello bianco e Pallagrello nero.
After the period of experimentation, I realized that we could do a good job, so that's why we expanded, and we used to have with the extended family a bunch of pieces of land available, and I planted this all these indigenous varietals in these brand new vineyards.
And understand how the grape would react to the terroir and try to understand terroir.
Quando ho incominciato proprio la prima coltivazione, diciamo, che ho visto la vastità del vigneto che incominciava a crescere nel marzo, in primavera, e allora ho incominciato a credere veramente, incominciato a vedere i germogli, che per me erano delle belle creature che stavano nascendo su questa Casavecchia del Pallagrello bianco e il Pallagrello nero. E così mi sono di più accanito a amare di più la terra e amare di più il vigneto, per poter portare avanti questo tipo di vitigno che stava veramente dando dei grandi risultati, ci stava dando, perché c'erano tutte le potenzialità di poter affrontare un certo discorso nella vastità del vigneto.
Let me tell you that I felt encouraged when I realized that on a cane the buds were growing, you know, in in the way I expected them to. And while they were sprouting, and flowering, I felt encouraged because I knew exactly that we were going on the right path.
Per me la vita adesso, perché questa attività nuova per me è una gioia.
So this is life for me because this new activity, it's a joy for me.
Ho lasciato il vecchio lavoro. Ho lasciato il vecchio lavoro per dedicarmi a questo.
I left the previous job and the silk industry in order to dedicate myself entirely to this new industry.
E mi spronano di più a portare avanti l'attività, in quanto io mi interesso per la parte agricola, per quanto riguarda il vigneto e le potature.
And actually, let me tell you, I like what I'm doing because I'm involved on the agricultural side of the business, and that's what I wanted to do. So I don't have to get involved in other things,
E all'età che ho, ho 84 anni, io mi sento ancora in mezzo a loro di poter qualche volta anche io aiuto alla potatura, a fare qualche cosa perché mi piace, è la mia vita.
I feel I can do more and more, and actually, most of the times I see my collaborators cutting, pruning or whatever. I feel like I'm still in a good shape to do the same job.
Of
because
course,
this is my life.
He's only 24.
Sorry, esatto, hai solo 84 anni.
Sì, 84.
Solo 84
quasi compiti. E io per questi 3 mesi di pandemia sono rimasti in casa chiusa perché i miei figli mi hanno obbligato a stare a casa e non poter uscire.
And during the pandemic, I've been, in jail within the 4 walls, into my house because my children didn't allow me to get out of my house.
Ero demoralizzato, non riuscivo a Leone, per me erano mesi che passavano in casa perché
I felt let down.
Era una grande sofferenza.
Disappointed.
Perché io vivo per la campagna, io vivo per il vigneto.
I live for the vineyard, I live for the countryside. So yeah.
E quando non vado mi sento male perché
I feel bad when I don't go there.
È la mia medicina.
Because it's my medication.
My medication.
Mi piace portare avanti per bene.
I like to do that, in a proper way.
Yes.
Let's make it so.
E questa è la vera medicina.
Cheers to that. That's exactly why I wanted to see you guys back again.
Allora, hai capito che ha detto? Perciò vi volevo di nuovo tutti e tre. Perché io, hai capito, gli ho detto, facciamola solo con me. Ha detto, no, questa è la ragione per cui vi volevo tutti e tre, capito? Ok. Thank you, Bruno. Thanks a lot. Thank you for inviting us.
Do we have someone here saying Viva Pantellantone? So,
viva Pontelatone.
Viva Pontelatone.
No, viva Pontelatone. Viva.
So on that note, of course, the pandemic, put us in a weird situation in the marketing and everything. But in the meantime, you have young blood coming from the family, and we have the young Michele. So Michele, how you see this, being part of the winemaking team? How you see the future of Alois? How you see the future of these wines? How you see the future of Campania?
Thank you for the question, Bruno. So first of all, I want to say that, and this you maybe understood it. This all started from the personal passion of my grandfather to the product, But I think wine, and you would be teaching me on this, is not just the product, It's everything that surrounds it. This we could also understand it from the history you just heard. And actually, I first noticed this and understood this the first time I went with my uncle to the US for a business trip. There actually I understood how it's not just the taste or the technical features of the product, but it's really what comes with it that makes the difference. So basically, another occasion, and I want to cite this, where I understood how what surrounds the product is important is during my exchange program in Portugal. So while I was visiting the Porto wineries, which if I'm not mistaken, I can see some there back on your back, there I understood furthermore how important it is to have an history, which can be a family history, can be in that case the history of a nationalities contamination, how that is important.
Super important.
So how it is important to bring something beside the simple bottle. So with this said, our ambition, my ambition for the future, but basically what we all think is that we really want to take the history and everything that surrounds the product. So the territory and our history together with the bottle and get it spread, because that is what really counts in the end. And I mean, we could talk about a lot of examples of this. I think the wine business is a lot about this. But to us, this is really the mission, the value of the company. So giving value to the history, to the fields, to everything that comes together with the bottle. Then the bottle, of course, and what's inside of it.
I always say this to people, like in a bottle, it's a living, has life into it. It's something that has a label, but behind that label, there's people, there's a lot of life, there's a lot of storytelling, there's a lot of history behind the bottle, that it's super important. Like when I tell people, like people that want to start in wine and everything, like I will give you my suggestion as my long hard road in wine. Start, like, for instance, like places like Italy, because, like, for instance, like with Campania, you're going to understand all those things that you just told me. The territory, the terroir, the people, talking about Venetians in the north, like why the great Venetian Empire did this, what Napoleon bring, what the Greeks brought, like what Phoenicians brought, what the Egyptians and the Cleopatra was so in love with sweet wines, what the Spaniards did. All these things, for me as Portuguese, we are about that. You know, we were not, like, during that time so focused in the Mediterranean, because we were in India. We were in India, like, trying to look for spices, and we were in Africa. We were busy in other places. But that's my background. It's like having this, having that, having this, a little spice of this, a little bit of this and this. So that's what I think about Italy. And you just said, for me, I think it's just perfectly, like, these bottles show a lot of history and a lot of what it has to say about company.
I think this is, in general, something that really drives all the Italian businesses.
Yes.
But the wine business has really a lot of it, you know. So while we were in the US, just to bring back the example, I really saw people interested in, apart from what they were drinking, the reasons behind what they felt, and those reasons you can really only find them in the words of the people who worked on it, on the history, so on all the big events like the Greek contamination or the explosion of a volcano, giving the field that those features, but also in the small events, like for example my uncle Massimo finding the animal eating the grapes during the harvest. So all these things together, they really bring value to the product.
The board is going to be with some of this, right? That's what you're going to have.
We do have it too. And Bruno, while you are opening the bottle, can I just share a funny story while I took my nephew all over the United States 10 years ago?
Yeah, please.
Okay, so one day he was kind of tired because, you know, we had 6-7 meetings per day, visiting all our clients and friends. And so he said to me, we were in Minneapolis, right? We came into a store, and he said, Uncle Massimo, let me just stay here beside the cashier. You know, and there were a bunch of customers, you know, with the dogs. So let me play with the dogs here. You go, you do the tasting and then you come back. I'll be here. Don't worry. Okay. And he was at the time 14 years old, right? Now he's 24. So 10 years ago. Anyway, said, okay, don't worry. Okay, I'll go. I came back and I saw Michele, you know, chewing with his mouth, trying to untie his tongue from his palate. So he was doing like that. And they said, hey, Michele, what's going on? What you doing? He said, Uncle Massimo, I ate those cookies which were on the cashier, and they taste like truffle. So what's that? So I looked on the cashier, and those were the cookies for the dogs. You know, they usually, the guys on the cashier, just to entertain the dogs, they give them to them. So that was hilarious, just hilarious. Yeah. So truffle cookies.
Yeah, truffle cookies. You guys have to come back. Yeah, you guys have to come back so we can share some of those stories. Hopefully soon, New York and the rest of the country we'll all be able like to come to a certain sense of normalcy and enjoy wines. And because I think like really like wines like this, any kind of wine, but mainly wines like this are meant to be shared like in a long table, talking about this, talking about that. Like, you know, like if you can talk about politics, I'm fine with that. Talking about religion, sports, who's best like in this and this. I think a lot of politicians, a lot of people could learn from these conversations in a long table with food and wine and great company. I think that's something we need to do that soon. So, and 80s music. So
we're in for that every moment.
So like just explain a little bit, Massimo, about like what we have. So with the Pallagrello Bianco.
Okay. So let me just tell you something about the soil. So we have two main kinds of soils. I brought them with me. So one is it's a volcanic soil that you guys can see. It's kind of grayish. It's ash coming from Mount Vesuvius. This is a big eruption occurred 40,000 years ago. So what we got, we didn't get the lava. We got the ash because we're far away. And since the Vesuvius is one of those volcanoes which is an eruptive volcano, it's not an effusion volcano. So you get the ash, which goes up because of the high temperature during the day, and then those big clouds of ash, they just move during the night, and then they collapse because of the lower temperature, and so they just fall down. So this is the reason why this kind of ash is called fall deposit. Okay, it's pretty brittle, it's not hard, and it has covered, you know, mainly all Campania, especially underneath 900 feet on the sea level, just because it's so brittle that it has been washed down the mountains and the hills. Okay, so up on the hills you have kind of white limestone. Okay, soil. So whatever we make on the volcanic soil, the wines are always pretty round. They're pretty fruity. Those which come from up the hills are always harsh, straightforward, and pretty acidic. So the Kayati that we are drinking right now, it has always been a blend of the two parcels we have, one from 900 feet and the other one from 900 feet and the other one from 1200 feet. Okay, so what we're doing today, and this is going to be a brand new release starting from this year. It's what we call our crew. So we have never released a new wine in the last 30 years. This is the very first time we're doing that. This is a 2018. You can see the brand new label. There's a design of the you can tell of the vineyard here. It says the altitude, you know, and it's called, the vineyard is called Morrone. Anyway, so for the very first time, we're not blending the two parcels. We are vinifying them separately. One which comes from up the hills, and the other one which from you know, down the plateau where we are, the volcanic soil where the vineyard, the winery is.
So the Pallagrello Bianco, wherever you grow it, it's always pretty. I would say it makes you salivate all the time. So this is the structure of the wine. It's a medium high acidity, pretty high in alcohol. It's almost 14 alcohol proof.
Yeah, that's what
Very
I saw.
great to say that, but that's its natural, DNA, whatever you want to call it. And in terms of aromatic, it always goes towards citrus,
Grapefruit.
anise, yeah, grapefruit. Sometimes after a few years, it goes towards quince. So those are this is the world, the aromatic world around these grape varietal.
But still get a little bit of exotic fruit, a little tropical nuances, but a little nutty, a little almondy, a little.
Yeah, you get that after a couple of years. You said you drink in the 18, right? 2018. So, and let me tell you something else. We have experienced the longevity of the wine. So this is a wine which can last for, I don't want to say, how long it can, but I can tell you that just a few days ago, we have opened a 2009, which was still green and still straightforward. So I think it's a pretty impressive grape. And I'm not just talking about Alois family, what we do, but I'm talking about the grape and whatever, the other vintners. And now we are 15. We used to be 2, 3, 4. Now we are 15 who are, doing a pretty good job. So the average in Northern Campania is pretty good. Exactly. That's Vestini Campagnano. This is one of the other vintners. It's a pretty, it's one of the I mean, let me tell you, this is the very first guy who bottled wine,
It was my first time that I had Pallagrello Bianco and Nero was from them back in the time.
So these guys have released the very first bottle in 1997. We released the first bottle in 99 after 2 years. So for sure, they have been the ones who have had the courage, the courage to release this wine for the very first time.
So, and again, like we're talking about wines, everyone that is trying to figure out like these wines can be found in the US via Soul Air Selections.
Yeah.
And so again, talking about Pallagrello Bianco, the Nero, mainly the Bianco has the dot, small round berries. That's what means Pallagrello, like the small berries with a little dot in it. Dispense 50% in stainless steel, correct? And then spends about 3 months in oak.
Yeah. Okay. So I would say 1/3 in neutral oak. So we vinify that there, and then we never cleanse the wine. So we never get rid of the lees, and we always stir the lees within the barrel. And this is 1/3. The other 2/3 are always they are vinified in stainless. We get rid of the lees. We never take the press. We just take the juice. So the press goes somewhere else. And so we take the juice. We make a maturation for 24 hours. Then we get rid of the lees. We take the noble lees. We put them in the tank, and for 4 or 5 years, 4 or 5 months, we always cleanse the wine. Okay, so we rack the wine at least a couple of times in order to get rid of the lees, or vice versa. Yeah, I like the one which has been vinified in neutral oak, which is we make the so-called batonnage. So I didn't want to use the French word, So we stir the lees with the barrel.
Talking about white wines, not only you have Pallagrello Bianco, but you guys have Falanghina too, another traditional classic from Campania as well. And then now moving to the reds. So on my glass, I have the Trebulano. The Trebulano, 100% Casavecchia.
Can I ask you the vintage on that?
13.
Okay, so now we have the same vintage.
13. So, and again, we're talking about like a wine that is sourced from 2 different vineyards. So coming from the Aldolino and coming from the Cesone.
Okay, yeah. So this is a blend of two parcels again. The Cesone, where we found the boar yesterday, that, as I told you, unfortunately we had to send him, you know, exactly, to send him in heaven. So just because he was caught within the fence. So the Cesone is clay.
The boars is a big problem in southern Portugal. It's a big problem for mainly in the Douro too. Probably Michele saw that when he was spending time in the Douro Valley. But boars are they're becoming more of a problem, more and more pests of boars in Portugal. So we understand.
Yeah, it's a big problem, and this year, for the very first time, they have opened the hunting season in the month of August. Never happened, because usually it started today, and it goes on for a couple of months. And but this year they realized that the boar, you know, these animals are creating problems. It's becoming real damage.
So Cesonic clay. So it's basically clay that we have in Cesonic,
So,
right?
yeah, it's clay, and the other is Audelino, which is the
Volcanic
soil. So it's 1/3 from the clay, 2/3 from the volcanic soil. This is vinified in big casks. It's a large format casks, Italian wood. For 15 days. We used to have a longer fermentation, 30 days, but then we decided, because of the tendency to reduce itself, we decided to shorten the period of fermentation. It's less than 15 days. Then we rack the wine into stainless steel. We cleanse the wine. When we age this wine for 2 years in smaller format casks, 25 hectoliters. Yeah, stays there
and then 2 years in the bottle.
And then in the bottle for 1 year. So we usually release.
I thought it was 2.
It's 1, 2 in wood, and 2 in the bottles. I said 1, 2 in the bottles. While the Pallagrello Nero is 1 year in the bottle. So I'm sorry.
Okay,
So anyway, it's 4 years aging. Okay, total. Okay, and we release it usually after 4 years. So this is 2013, which has got a pretty round tannins. Usually tannins on this wine are, especially in the very beginning, are pretty, I don't want to say harsh, but you can feel them under the palate.
Patience. You need patience.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. That's what you need with this wine. This wine which needs time, just because of the tannins, which always prevail on the fruit. The fruit is always there. So in this vintage, for example, you can easily taste the fruit, but usually it's always it's I would say tannic leaning kind of wine.
It's round, soft tannins, elegant tannins. It's not that very harsh tannins. Like depending another wine that you guys have with Aglianico, depending if it's coming from a depending, like if it's Torazio, Taburno, or Massimo, if it's Paestum, the Aglianico, in my opinion, shows like very differently where it is.
You are totally right. So at Aglianico, it tends to be a little angular and edgy sometimes. I don't want to say bitter, but yeah, that's something you can taste. While the tannins of the Casavecchia, they are pretty. I mean, they're pretty intense, but always silky. Just the words which come from the textile world, you know, silky tannins.
You told me this the other day. We were talking about like this, and makes total sense. Now I'm tasting back again to wine. When we're talking about that Pallagrello Nero, like was meant like to be like the Barolo of the South a little bit. We talk about Aglianico being like that kind of Nebbiolo of the South because of tannins, or even kind of the bringing that approach of Barolo Barbaresco, or even with Brunello, what Aglianico can do, and what Barolo was meant to be an answer from being a Barolo of the South. And I totally see that once you told me this, like I get it. Like when Pinot Noir wants to be tannic, I think this is what it is. Like Pinot Noir tannins, like they are there, but they're soft and round, like kind of Nuit Saint Georges kind of Pinot Noir kind of approach. I feel that on Casavecchia, a little bit of smoke, which apparently it's very common and characteristic in Casavecchia, but it's plummy, it's voluptuous. it's fairly rich of a wine. Is like I love it. It's beautiful, beautiful.
Yeah, I would say that the Nuit Saint Georges, the Corton wines, all that area over there, it's those wines, the average, they are always very balanced. Sometimes, let me tell you, just because this is a brand new area, and this is a varietal which has just been revived, and all the vintners are doing their best to try to find a balance between the fruit.
Now with climate change,
sometimes it's a little unbalanced.
And with the climate change, everything that is happening, like you guys trying to realize and how to study like where's the best place. And apparently, you guys are coming up and up and up.
Exactly, that's what it is. You got to go up. You got to go up. We are lucky just because the phenolic ripeness of these wines tends to be pretty late, so which is good because we were talking about climate change. But that being said, this is not enough. So fortunately, our region is a pretty hilly region, so we do have the chance to go up. So our region is not flat at all, but it's pretty, mountainous and mountainous, and hilly. So we do have the chance to find a different altitude. So
that's exciting, mainly for Michele. He has a little bit of a job in front of him.
Yes, he has an entire future, in front of him, and there are so many other things to experiment that you never finish.
He's going to take some cookies with him. But again, like I really hope to see you all soon. Hopefully, like this pandemic and everything like is changing our lives and everything. But it's great to communicate this way. I hope to see you guys soon, and I hope in terms of like your employees, your community, everyone is safe and sound. I know that I'm starting to hear that Europe it's starting to get a little need to protect themselves back again because the cases are raising up. So please be safe. Michele, continue to be inside of the home. But I really hope to see you all soon. I'm really happy that I could talk to you back again.
Okay.
And so let me just ask you this very briefly. If you had to, Massimo or Michele, if you had to plant, like in 1 minute, if you had to plant something like in a different region of the world, what would you plant? Like some other region outside of Campania, outside of Italy, where would you go to plant some vines and make wine?
Mamma mia, what a question. So I don't know, I'll ask them too, so think about it. Hai detto dove metteresti un'altra vigna se non fosse la Campania? Pensaci, ti do tempo, ora comincio io a rispondere.
I'll give you some time.
I'll give you some time.
I have the very brief answer.
You do? Okay,
Bruno, and I'll go with Portugal because I was so in love with those rivers and those hills, so I'll go with that.
Okay.
So let me tell you what I would say. I'll be honest with you. What I would do, I would buy a vineyard on the foothill of Monte Partenio, su Monte area. I've been drinking Fianos all my life, and I think that's a magic area. And of course, the others are good too. Lapio, Montefalcione, Montefredane. I think there's something, I don't know, maybe because I like the landscape. So maybe I would say, but you said outside the Campania. Outside Campania, I would, I don't know, I don't want to say something which is too obvious. I like Pinot Noirs, of course. I like the Chardonnay from that area. But then, let me tell you again, I would choose something else, a minor area. Maybe Jura, because I like the Pulsard, I like the Savagnin, and I would maybe something like that, because it's quite similar to Campania, hilly, full of vegetation, pretty green region. So maybe a minor area because I feel much more encouraged to do something, in order to
What about Michele?
Bring back from extinctions those pretty weird varietals.
And what about Michele?
If he has got an answer. Tu ce l'hai una risposta? No? Ce l'hai una risposta? Dove pianteresti un'altra vigna? Se non fosse la Campania.
Ma in Abruzzo, la parte alta verso la montagna.
Abruzzo.
Abruzzo?
Up on the hills in Abruzzo.
Up on the hills. Okay, it's a big difference, right? You don't want to be in the south of Abruzzo. That's my opinion. That's just the way I think about Abruzzo. I'm sorry. I think you need to be up. I think that's one of my favorite wines. It's more the northern part of Abruzzo, but that's me. So I totally understand that. Thank you so much. I know you guys are busy. I know it's Sunday. For us, it's 4 o'clock here, but for you, it's like 10 o'clock. Thank you so much. I will see you soon.
Bruno, and it goes without saying that you are invited to come visit.
I will.
We will do, you know, whenever we have the opportunity, we'll come visit you, but please consider our invitation. We got rooms at the winery. You can stay with us, you know, and you can bring whoever you want, family, friends, whoever, okay?
We'll have some boar and cookies. Okay.
Yeah, exactly.
E questa è la mia vita.
This is my life.
This is your life, totally. Thank you so much. Cheers to your life.
Bruno. Ciao.
Cheers
Ciao,
to the
Bruno.
past. Cheers to the present. Cheers to the future.
Ciao.
Ciao. See you soon. Ciao.
See you.
Bene, viene pro buono. Mamma mia. Andiamo.